Selection of materials is very important for any physical modeling process. It depends on the use of the model and how it's going to be displayed. In terms of look and feel, I can imagine physical models of being two types. First one is more of monochrome model, which is more or less made from same material or similar material palette to sheets. The second type of physical models are more of realistic models that represent true nature, materials, and textures of real building. These are more oriented towards common public as they are easy to understand. These are basically made by builders and developers to sell, display, and showcase the project. Coming to the different type of materials I use for model making, the first one I prefer is a box board sheet. This sheet is brown textured sheet on one side, and on the back side it's white glossy sheet. So generally we paste two sheets when we have to show both sides brown in this case. Coming to material number 2, this is a boxboard kind of material, but it's brown on both sides. It's a monochrome material, and if you look closely, it looks pretty similar to the boxboard I've shown earlier. There's a bit of difference in hardness, but in terms of look and feel, they look really same, and they can easily be used as the same model because they go along with each other very nicely. Now coming to the third material, this is a white mount board, textured white on one side and glossy white on the other side. So if you see the thickness, it's almost double of the box board, and hardness is also different. These are the prints of the model we're going to make today. We are starting to take measurements of the printouts. These prints can be according to the scale of the model you want, in scale of 100 to 150 accordingly. Now we are just demarcating the cutting lines. So we will just cut out the floor plate first. As you can see, this was the print area in pink, and we'll just cut out the print area plate that serves as a base for our ground floor. Now we are demarcating the ground floor slab floor plate. So this is the ground floor slab in yellow. We are demarcating. Now we are measuring and cutting the cells. Now we have this both floor plates ready. Now we are cutting this ground floor walls. These are the first wall we'll cut. We will start it from the parking area, and we will calculate the height of the walls as per the elevation and the length of the walls as per the plan. Now after cutting the two floor plates, we have started cutting and have cut these walls on the ground floor, and this is how they're going to connect and make a wall corner. So you can see the stick windows and other windows in these cuts. Now we are assembling these walls onto the floor plates. You can see we have two walls around walls, the longer wall and the shorter wall, and this would be connected perpendicularly. Now we are cutting another walls of the ground floor, and this will eventually close up to make the whole ground floor loop. These are some other walls that have been cut for the ground floor, and eventually all the walls could be cut and assemble later. Now in this we are measuring and cutting the rear elevation of the building, and this would eventually be the back side of the building when the model is complete. Now we are cutting the boundary wall of the plot. So this is the left side of the boundary wall when we finish the plot. So we are just measuring and cutting this boundary wall. And here you can see we have the slits in the boundary wall which are now shown in the cutting. Basically we are just compiling all the cutouts we have made so far. So it's easier to keep in track that what all we have cut and what all needs to be cut. So we'll just place them along with the plan and we'll just mark which other walls are need to be cut. So this gives an idea of how much work is left on the ground floor on the cutting department. Now we are cutting other elevations of the building. This is the front elevation part on the left side we are cutting currently, and also we'll cut the right side of the elevation, and then we'll assemble them when the model is getting ready. In this portion we are currently cutting the front facade, the front block facade, that is a screen kind of facade. So we have cut this different parts, and now we'll start assembling the different parts to make it into a block, and we'll just demarcate them first. And this is the central part of the block, and this is the front portion, and eventually we will make sides of these and connect the whole block into a facade. Now you can see the facade is being assembled. I use a normal paper adhesive to join these. It takes a bit of longer time, but the output strength is really good and it's a bit of flexible. It doesn't break over the joints. So this is a facade, box facade, and you can see a bit of white, so screen would be added on this later on. You can see the facade block is almost ready, so it has all the sides complete, and a screen would be added on this later. In this part we are just measuring all the windows and doors. We'll measure them and cut into sizes and just paste over onto the walls from the inside. So this is the cutting process and measurement process of the windows. we can see the windows are almost ready, and these windows are cut into two parts. The first part are the window frames, and the second part will be the glass sheet, which we will later paste on these frames to make complete set of windows and doors. Now you can see the frames have been cut. Now we'll measure them and cut this transparent sheet, kind of translucent sheet, to make the glass, as we don't want to see inside the building. So we are cutting the glass as per measurement of the windows and paste over these frames to make them a complete set of windows. We paste these glass sheets over these frames with the help of paper glue, and this glue is very efficient, works pretty well. Now we can see the doors and window frames are ready along with the PVC sheet pasted. Now we'll just assemble them and start pasting on the back side of the walls. Now in this portion we are just finishing off the small rough edges that we have in small windows and doors. We'll just cut them and make them ready, and then we'll just apply this glue and paste PVC sheets and glass doors and windows on the back side of the walls. And here we can see how we apply a bit of glue and just paste the PVC sheet on the back side and apply gentle kind of pressure so that it sticks onto it. It still takes some 10 to 15 minutes to get settled to the paper. Now we can see we have this walls ready with doors and windows pasted. Now we'll start the assembly process of the walls along with the ground floor plate, and we are just adding glue to the edges, and this is how we just clean the sheet because there's pencil marks above it, and we use this 90-degree tool to make it perpendicular to the ground surface, and we just keep it like this for 5 to 10 minutes and just settles along with the paper. And now we'll add the second wall along with the first wall. So we'll add glue on the sides as well as the bottom so that it sticks to both sides of this model walls. In this portion now we have the ground floor slab. We just check during the course of the model that the sizes are same. Although we have just measured them before cutting them, we just cross check that if something needs to be done at this level so that we don't have to cut the model after it's complete. So you can see the walls are more or less complete. The back facade is also connected, and now the boundary wall is also being checked that it has the size or not. And now we are just adding all the walls on the ground floor, and you can see that ground floor slab is also added to the ground floor walls. And now we will just add some supports from the bottom that it has the same level throughout. Now we are adding the two sides walls. One is the boundary wall which we have seen earlier with slits, and the other side is almost a blank wall because there's a plot on the other side. Now we have assembled almost all the walls on the ground floor and the first floor. The first floor doesn't have many walls because it will have the front and the back facade. The side walls are pretty blank and they've been integrated into a singular phase which connects the ground floor and the first floor. So this is the facade on the left side, which we are just checking before pasting it, and we'll add the windows before putting on the facade because it becomes very difficult to add in windows after facade has been added. And similarly on the right side we'll add the windows. See, in this we can see the windows have been added, and now the central facade is just been put to check, not been fixed yet. Fix it once all the internal things have been sorted out. Now in this we are just adding the box facade. We are just adding a tiny bit of glue. From the first look it looks very difficult at how why don't we use any better tools to add on glue, but I prefer using my hands and fingers because I have more control while adding glue, and it also permits me to wipe off excess glue while I'm coming back after applying the glue. So it's more convenient to me to use my fingers. You can use other tools for adding the glue to edges and the walls. Now in this part we are just measuring and adding the rear boundary wall to the model. And now we are cutting and pasting the front boundary walls. The front boundary walls have some slits within, so that would have to made in parts because we have 3 or 4 boards pasted to have a thickness, and all those boards cannot be cut in a single go. So we'll just cut different strips and we'll just make these vertical columns in the front boundary wall. And now we can see we are just adding these columns one after another after measuring the heights of these columns. Now we can see the model basic framework of the model is almost complete. We have added small details like the staircase and front planters into the model, and we also added a small room on the terrace and a skylight on the top. And these are some basic shots of incomplete model, which are work in progress type of shots. So these are the laser cut facades that would be added to the screen area of the model, like the main gate and the front screen facade. These were too tiny to be cut by hand. And these are some final shots of the model after completion and adding of jali. The model came out really good. There could be some improvements that could have been done, but Overall, it's a satisfactory work, and I'm pretty satisfied. And I hope I will come up with some better models.